To our channel, Monique Speaks and Reactions. So, guys, I'm going to keep following this story regarding Jeffrey Maddrey and Lieutenant Quatisha Epps. Okay. And so I went to Eric Sanders, who's the attorney that is representing Miss Epps. And shout out to Eric Sanders for taking some time to speak to me today, to educate me, and to let me know that there's a plethora of information on his website, and I will be following this case, hopefully through its entirety. Okay, so let's read this. This is a statement from attorney Eric Sanders regarding the allegations and former NYPD chief Jeffrey B. Maddrey's admissions. Okay. This was posted on December 28th, 2024 by Eric Sanders himself, Esquire. He's a former NYPD police officer turns attorney helping the fights, some of the skullduggery and injustices, by people, especially police officers. All right, so let's read this. Yesterday, during a hastily arranged press conference, I see how this is gonna go. He's going in. He's going in. Former NYPD Chief of Department Jeffrey B. Maddrey, through his attorney, admitted to having a consensual sexual relationship with my client, Lieutenant Quatisha Epps. This shocking admission comes on the heels of Maddrey's prior denials of all allegations and his abrupt resignation on December 20th, 2024. Now I'm going to stop here. Y'all show me some grace, but I do think I remember, and I was looking for and y'all forgive me, I was looking for the newsreel where I thought and I swore I saw something or heard somewhere he said, I didn't do this. Okay, that these accusations, he denied them. I thought I saw allegedly somewhere either on the news or in writing in the newspaper that he was denying allegations. However, then he flipped the script, Maddrey, and then came out with his hastily arranged press conference with his lawyer, and then he abruptly resigned on December 20th, 2024, as his sex for overtime scandal unraveled. While his legal team attempts to frame this as a consensual relationship, the facts and evidence tell a far more troubling story of abuse of power, manipulation, and predatory behavior within the NYPD. Let me be unequivocally clear. There can be no consent in a workplace where one individual wields immense power over another's livelihood. I'm going to stop there. I'm eating me a pot pie from Trader Joe's. I'm going to stop and let y'all think about that. I'm going to read that one more time. He said, and I quote, "Let me be unequivocally clear. There can be no consent. You can't consent in a workplace where one individual, which is Jeffrey B. Maddrey, wields immense power over another's livelihood. As Lieutenant Epps' direct supervisor, Maddrey leveraged his position as the highest ranking uniform officer in the NYPD to prey upon her financial and emotional vulnerabilities. He demanded sexual favors, referred to as envelopes, and even gifts, including one that was delivered to his spouse at their home. These demands were not the actions of a man engaging in a consensual relationship. They were acts of coercion and quid pro quo sexual harassment. Now, y'all all know, if y'all ever went to orientation, there, in orientation, they give you them videos to watch and things of that nature. And there's always one about quid pro quo. And I think is that Latin for this, for that? But y'all let me know down in the comments, child, because I'm a nurse, not a lawyer. Maddrey's use of his authority to exploit vulnerable female officers, enabled by systemic failures within the NYPD for more than 30 years, just like I told y'all, this has been going on for a long time, now under Police Commissioner Jessica S. Tisch and Mayor Eric L. Adams, is abhorrent. The notion that Maddrey, a man with full access to the NYPD employee profile database, the place where you could get hired, fired, they could put stuff in it, frame you, all types of stuff. I'm not saying he did that, but I'm just saying that could happen. He had access to the NYPD's employee profile database and other internal tools, did not target and manipulate subordinates, is simply implausible. This behavior is not just unethical, it is a flagrant violation of Supreme Court precedents on quid pro quo sexual harassment under Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act and other anti-discrimination laws. So basically, he done violated the law in Ebonics, in Brooklynese. He's violated Supreme Court acts, federal laws, Title 7 of the Civil Rights Act, and anti-discrimination laws. And the fact that he had access to your personnel file. Furthermore, Maddrey's lawyers' attempts to malign Lieutenant Epps by focusing on her personal life and making baseless claims about her character are reprehensible. You know what? And myself and some other YouTubers said the same thing. We were like, bruh, you should have just stood down instead of coming out, because it was obvious you were trying to smear her and talk about her personal life versus the facts of this case and the law. Maddrey, okay, let's finish this. To do the behavior, just no involvement. Okay. Equally, equally disingenuous is the claim that Maddrey was unaware of Lieutenant Epps' overtime earnings or had no involvement in the overtime process. This sounds very far-fetched to me that he knew nothing, because who's approving this stuff? Somebody's approving these things. There has to be some checks and balances. And I do not believe for a minute, and I believe there's probably some text messages, something, that he knew about this. That's just my opinion. I wasn't there. This is all alleged. But I have, I can have my own opinion. And my opinion is that he just did not know. My opinion is he did know. But we're going to find out. Maddrey and his legal team's suggestion that he never approves, gives, or signs overtime is a red herring designed to mislead the public. He kept saying he doesn't approve it. And then I remember his, on this little podium, his attorney, Jeffrey Maddrey's attorney, showed a form and was like, he never signed off on it. Doesn't mean, because you didn't sign off on it, doesn't mean you weren't aware and that you didn't approve it verbally. You know what I mean? The NYPD has strict protocols for reviewing, flagging, and approving overtime submissions, both pre and post payment. As the highest ranking uniform officer, Maddrey was well aware of these systems and, as evidence shows, used his position to manipulate them to his advantage. To suggest otherwise insults the public's intelligence and undermines the integrity of the NYPD's internal controls. My intelligence was insulted because I was like, somebody knew about this. Okay. She just didn't willy-nilly get this approved and get this on her paycheck. Furthermore, Maddrey's lawyers' attempts to malign Lieutenant Epps by focusing on her personal life and making baseless claims about her character are reprehensible. These tactics are nothing more than an effort to distract from the indisputable facts, which are Maddrey exploited his power to demand sexual favors, money, and gifts, and when Lieutenant Epps began to assert her independence, he retaliated by weaponizing the department's Internal Affairs Bureau to smear her reputation. One of the things, smear campaigns is something, and just controlling the narrative. I don't like to talk about the narcs here, but the narcs be narking, and narcissists do they're everywhere. They could be lawyers, attorneys, nurses, they could be everywhere. But a lot of them like places of power, and they just, and they love to smear people's names and character. They'll call you crazy, a slut, a whore, hoes, you know what I mean. Furthermore, let us all let us also address the personal attacks against me and my law firm. To insinuate that I somehow concocted these allegations or had prior knowledge of them before accepting Lieutenant Epps' representation is both defamatory and unethical. I represent my client in good faith based on the overwhelming evidence of misconduct committed by Maddrey. To Maddrey's legal team, okay, now y'all that's representing Mr. Maddrey, this is a message from Eric Sanders. He says, and I quote, I remind you and Maddrey, as a newly admitted member of the bar, because Maddrey has his Juris Doctorates. He became a lawyer. I'm a nurse, not a lawyer. Okay. Of your ethical obligation. This sounds like fighting words in a thread. Of your ethical obligation as officers of the court, should you continue to engage in baseless accusations and dilatory tactics, I will not hesitate to file a complaint with the Bar Association. See, that's why I don't get out here on these YouTube streets and just be saying whatever. We have a code of conduct that we should conduct ourselves. If you work for an employer, you need to conduct yourself as such. But these are fighting words, because Eric Sanders said, look, if you keep it up with your shenanigans and your buffoonery, I'm just quoting, I'm putting it in my words. This is Ebonics Brooklynese. If you keep it up, I will not hesitate, since you just got admitted to the bar, a place where I have been standing and my reputation is where it is. If you keep it up, he will not hesitate to file a complaint with the Bar Association. For decades, Maddrey has been allowed to operate with impunity, preying on vulnerable women inside and outside of the NYPD. Does that mean there's other people who didn't work with the NYPD and that have come forward? I'm thinking it sounds like this. Because now his lawyers have been very quiet. I don't think they should have done that press conference, because I could see just, with my own eyes that was that was just a red herring, as he says, a distraction. The department's repeated failures to hold him accountable, even after prior allegations and lawsuits, reflect a systemic culture of complicity. Lieutenant Epps' courage in coming forward shines a light on this pervasive misconduct, because a lot of people do not come forward, guys. Sometimes because of shame, retaliation, some people getting unalive death threats, all of that good stuff. I'm telling you, all the good and the bad stuff. Her unblemished record as a supervisor, so she has a record. Her resilience as a survivor of childhood trauma. And see, people are playing games with this situation as it relates to childhood trauma, because it does follow you where you go. But those who don't get treatment or come across these people, it does follow you, but it's nothing to joke about. Yes, we all probably have some childhood trauma, but anyway. Her resilience as a survivor of childhood trauma, domestic violence, and cancer. And I just want to say to her, I'm a partial, because when we're reporting, we're supposed to just report the facts, but I have some compassion because I'm a breast cancer survivor, and this woman is a 2-time or 3-time cancer survivor. There's something about going through that journey once, but going through it 2 or 3 times, it does something to your mind. You're going to be vulnerable anyway, regardless of what people tell you. You will be vulnerable. And her steadfast commitment to justice speaks to her credibility and strength of character. I would agree with that. As for Maddrey's threat of civil litigation, I say this. This is the Brooklyn's in the house. He said, bring it on. Did y'all read this? I'm telling you, this is so. If Maddrey and his legal team believe that filing a SLAP, which stands for strategic lawsuit against public participation, defamation claim will silence us, they are mistaken. So I guess there's this strategic lawsuit against there's a SLAP lawsuit to try to silence them. It says such bad faith legal actions are not only sanctionable by the courts, but will also serve to expose Maddrey's predatory behavior further. Maddrey's admissions, the extensive evidence we have collected, which could be pictures, tapes, all type of stuff. And the digital trail, y'all know people in the true crime community, the digital trail is deep, you know. The digital trail can solve a mystery and solve a kerfuffle, but this situation can really give the identity, time frames, timelines, because you know a timeline is everything. It can really help prove or disprove allegations in cases. And the digital trail left behind will hold him accountable. Them cell phones, I told y'all, don't be sending no body parts. And I'm not saying this about Quatisha, because there was a situation there. Unfortunately for Maddrey, he could not isolate Epps in his office or outside in a park. Oh, he's talking about the other lady. Oh, the other this is low key. He's referencing other cases. Unfortunately for Maddrey, he could not isolate Epps in his office or outside in the park to physically overpower her and delete the digital evidence on her mobile device as he did to others. Oh, so that's what the fight in the park was with the other lady. Oh, so he deleted the digital. Not a court allegedly. What I heard, that there was a kerfuffle and a ruckus. Wow. Moreover, the envelopes and gifts he demanded, the sexual favors he coerced, and the retaliatory actions he took against Lieutenant Epps demonstrate a calculated abuse of power. This is not about one victim or one incident. Oh, y'all. It is about dismantling a culture that has allowed predators, calls him a predator, like Maddrey to thrive unchecked. No checks and balances, okay? Calls him allegedly a predator. Lord have mercy. He was like, I'm not gonna be intimidated. I'll go to the bar if you keep up with your shenanigans, okay? Furthermore, bring it on, because it's not gonna shut us up. And we have a plethora of evidence. I'm just paraphrasing with ebonics and, and basically that they have a trail. I told y'all these cell phones are, people think that no one will ever know. And people are behaving badly and doing things they shouldn't. This is in everybody's case. Be careful what you send to people, because years later it may come back to haunt anybody. You know what I'm saying? Lieutenant Epps and I remain undeterred, he said. To Maddrey, his legal team, and those complicit in covering up his actions, your tactics will not intimidate us. That's like a Brooklyn brawl. We will continue to fight for justice, but done the legal way. Okay? We're not talking about violence or nothing like. We're talking about the legalese, doing it by the law, by the book, and that's how we do it. We will continue to fight for justice. Not just for justice for Lieutenant Epps, but for every woman who has suffered in silence at the hands of those who abuse their power. To the public, we stand with you in the belief that no one is above the law. Hallelujah. Because, that's why, you know what? I'm a nurse, not a lawyer, but I wanted to go to school to get my law degree, because after I had a case here in Georgia with some, I believe, some unscrupulous lawyers who are disingenuous for a malpractice case that I had. I wanted to become a lawyer to do what they did not do. It's my belief is to represent my client and to get justice for them, whether it's monetary or whatever the case may be. And I want to shout out to a really good, nice lawyer here in Georgia. Shout out to Judge Hatchett, a nice lady, a judge and an attorney. And she's about her business and not about the shenanigans. But anyway, I digress, because, it takes me back to my case. And so I'm just trying to tell y'all, I was thinking, I said I'm a nurse, not a lawyer. But again, there's some reasons why people go into law. One, sometimes it's personal things that happen to them. And I believe it is my belief that these two unscrupulous attorneys who had my case here in Georgia, those are stories for other days. I was like, you know what? As a nurse, and if I become an attorney, I can fight for those people who really need those to fight for them, especially with malpractice cases, such as what occurred with me. But anyway, It says here, to Maddrey, his legal team, and those complicit in covering up his actions, your tactics will not intimidate us. We will continue to fight for justice, not just for Lieutenant Epps, but for every woman who has suffered in silence at the hands of those who abuse their power. Amen to that. To the public, we stand with you in the belief that no one is above the law, and we are committed to holding those who abuse their positions accountable. Signed, Eric Sanders, Esquire, attorney for Lieutenant Quatisha Epps, the Sanders firm PC. Y'all, look, this is well written. I don't know who wrote this. Did you write that, Eric Sanders? Very well written, and put together, and it was to the facts and to the point. It is true. Some of these cases are not just about the plaintiff, but it stands as a precedence for other cases. And there's some people in every aspect of life and in every occupation that believe they're above the law. You got nurses that think they're above the law, doctors that believe they're above the law, lawyers that think they're above the law. You got police officers who believe there's always somebody who likes to abuse their power. Okay? And there's some people who've gotten fired, terminated, lost their houses, been homeless because of the injustice and just the bullying that goes on in certain institutions and organizations around the world by these sociopaths and these psychopaths and these narcissists. But anyway, but yes, this is what a statement that was made. These are fighting words. But when I say fighting words, I'm talking about legal. This is a legal fight. And, I'm a little, animated, but, y'all wouldn't listen to me if I wasn't a little animated, if I just read it like yesterday during it. No, y'all wouldn't listen to that. Miss Epps, congratulations to you on your successful battle with cancer. I think it's 2 or 3 times, if you ever listen to this. I know the struggles. I know there's something that happens to you when you go through this. And a lot of people don't even understand that it could be financially, it's a very financially toxic disease. And maybe she was at a position after going through this 2 or 3 times. I don't know. Maybe she was financially strapped. And maybe that was utilized because I heard some undercurrents of her possibly having gone into foreclosure. Let me be very clear. You get FMLA, you may have some sick time, but she's gone through this process more than one time. And if she's a single parent with kids, how does that work? Right? What you may have had, your home, you don't want to lose it. You don't want to end up on the street. So I don't know what happened, but that I can tell you financially, with cancer, there's a vulnerability there. The other thing, and I'm not just saying this because this is true, because I've been through it. There was another attorney on YouTube. He's called The Lead Attorney. He's an attorney here in the state of Georgia, but he has a YouTube channel. And for a minute, you didn't see him, and he was diagnosed with some sort of cancer. And he did mention, and I'm glad that he's doing better. Shout out to you, lead attorney. I don't know what your real name is, but therapy and counseling is really important because once you get that diagnosis, it is traumatic and it does something to your psyche. It does something to your mind, your heart, and your soul. And the other thing that it does, which he mentioned, was the brain fog, whereas you don't operate the way the chemotherapy surges through your body, but also through your brain cells. So you have something called brain fog where you're not as adept. I'm not as on my feet as I used to be, meaning, sometimes I forget words. I'm not as focused because of that chemotherapy. It does something to your brain. No one really talks about it, but he talked about it. And I was like, thank God somebody is saying this. And I'm sure this has probably happened to Mrs. Epps as well. So to me, as far as her cognitive, not saying that she has a problem, but it's probably not where it used to be. Another area of vulnerabilities, because sometimes I don't forget. I got all type of notes, stickies, and it happened after the chemotherapy. I just couldn't focus. And they don't talk about this. They call it brain fog. But just imagine that chemo is rushing through your whole entire body. And it passes the blood-brain barrier. And so your brain, it just doesn't operate. You're a little slower. You know, you might have been real quick, you know, with the thought processes, and the comeback, it ain't as snapback as it was before. To me, that is something that she probably had as well. I don't know, but I'm assuming if she's gone through this 2 or 3 times, that's something. That brain fog is a real. Mentally, cognitively, it does something. And that's why I changed the style of how I deliver and do more reactions and stuff, because it's not as taxing or trying to remember. I do a lot more reading because I don't have to remember stuff, you know? Sometimes you hear me say, because I know the word that I'm going to say, but I can't quite remember what it is. And that was related to the chemotherapy. Shout out to the lead attorney. Glad you're doing well, brother. Continue on your journey. Don't forget the therapy, because people who go through this, you do need it, because it's an attack. It's like an assault on your whole body. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, y'all, I'm going to be following the story, and I just want you guys to stay tuned. Please like, share, and subscribe. You know, I want to report the facts, and I'm not going to say that I'm not kind of a little partial toward Quatisha. But for some people out here on the street saying that she's a horrible person, we don't know all the facts. So the fact that she engaged in something doesn't mean that she's a horrible person. We just know about what occurred. There are a lot of people who we don't know about things, and some of you calling her a horrible person, and we don't know what your background is. So I'm not going to necessarily say she's a horrible person. We don't know the timing of all the events. We don't know all of the details. And I would just say I'm not going to call someone horrible because she engaged in a situation with a man that it should have never happened, period, point blank. You cannot consent, and I almost agree, in a workplace where one individual yields power. There's no consent there. How do you consent to that? That does make a lot of sense. And some of these people saying this are attorneys. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself. You know, I mean, I have my opinions and stuff, and I come out here and I give my commentary and my reaction. But when it comes to these cases, I want to know the facts. One fact that I do know is Jeffrey Maddrey he did yield an immense amount of power. And it has been said that the retaliation that one goes through when you report something, or you know, just in a person who feels like, you know, they lord power over you, you can have a hard way to go. You know what I'm saying? You can have a hard way to go. Somebody knew about that overtime. She didn't approve of herself. And why is it that the women who have gotten this overtimes, all of this extra overtime, was affiliated or worked with or for, under, or connected to Jeffrey Maddrey? So obviously somebody had to know. But anyway, y'all, this statement, honey, sounds like fighting Brooklyn words. These JDs are gonna go at it in court. And to the defense, the attorney for Jeffrey Maddrey, I don't think y'all should have had that press conference. We looked at it and we was like, If we could see straight through it. It looked like it was just thrown together, and it looked like y'all were just trying to smear her. So it doesn't look good to do that. It just don't. And I'm not just saying that. Other YouTubers were saying that. It was a little tacky to me. I mean, you know, it was a little tacky. That's all I'm saying. But you know, I guess you got to do what you got to do. And another thing, attorneys charge a lot of money per hour. Oh my gosh. If you need a good attorney, a good accountant, a good nurse practitioner in your family, people that you can have on speed dial. And an attorney is one of them, because they charge buku dollars for their help and assistance. But all attorneys, nurses, doctors, lawyers, you know, police officers, they're not all one and the same. I'm not anti-police, but I'm anti people who are in power taking advantage and getting away with it for years and thinking nothing would ever happen. And I think gone are those days, because social media is here. You see what I'm saying? You know, before, everything used to filter through the mainstream media. But now you got YouTubers and bloggers, as they call them, big and small, that come out and do the research. And when I tell you, look, I'm not a YouTube sleuth, because y'all got some YouTube sleuths out here that will do the work, okay? Do the FOIAs. And I learned something, FOIA. I mean, they will do the work and put the pieces together, give a timeline, and do all that good stuff. I mean, some of these people are dedicated and will do the work of the detectives out on the street. And then some detectives, they ain't got to do nothing but sit and listen to people run their mouth and tell all their business online. And they can solve some cases just like that. But y'all, let me know what y'all think about this statement from attorney Eric Sanders regarding those allegations of the former NYPD chief Jeffrey B. Maddrey's admissions. These are fighting words. It's like, back in the day in Brooklyn, the girls, put on your sneakers and put some Vaseline on. But instead of that happening, oh no, they're going to duke it out in the courts of law. Okay, using the law. Y'all, this is very interesting to me. I'm going to follow this case because I think enough is enough. Okay, enough is enough. And if we don't know really all the facts, I mean, I have my personal opinions about things, but I don't know all the facts of this case. But one fact I do know is Jeffrey Maddrey was in a high position of power. He should not be having a consensual relationship, consensual or not. But according to Eric Sanders, you can't consent in a workplace where one person wields power over you. It's really not consent because you're really somebody's wielding. It could be your job, and all of the things that this woman has gone through. I'm not giving her a pass, but what I'm saying is we have to logically and ethically look at this whole entire situation. And then we got to look at the facts. And it sounded to me that Jeffrey Maddrey had, I don't know, because I wasn't there. Okay, I'm a nurse, not a lawyer. But it sounds to me that he has some things going on in the NYPD and outside of the NYPD. Ooh, child. Anyway, y'all, let me know what y'all think about this statement. I thought this was fascinating. Okay? Fascinating. I've never seen such strong, forceful, but legal words. He said, bring it on. All right, y'all. This is Monique. Monique Speaks and Reactions. Like, share, subscribe. Let's get down on the comments and talk about this statement, y'all. All right, y'all. Peace.